this computer. I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to the social media training with Amir Vera. If we can get some hand claps. Okay, he is a CNN writer. He does amazing things, especially when it comes to the youth. He's the president of the association, the Atlanta chapter of the Association of Black Journalists. And when I tell you, he really is an advocate when it comes to young journalists. He helps one of our members inside of DCOW quite often, walking her through some interview tips, walking her through really how to navigate this industry. So I want to make sure that majority of this is catered to Amir and his training. In this social media series, we are really going to learn about social media headlines. I also want you all to take some really detailed notes. If you haven't realized already, mobile usage when it comes to cell phones are going up, right? So what does that mean? Our news consumption, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that is increasing through cell phone usage. So what I want to make sure is, I know some people, they may be here through the Florida Focus Group. So if you are, welcome. This is who I am, and I want to make sure that you get to know Amir as well. I'm going to give Amir creative control to go ahead and share his screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, you should be able to share your screen. And I want to go over a few housekeeping rules. Number one, Amir's teaching is going to be an hour. And then from that point, he's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes for questions. If you all need to reach out to him afterwards, I encourage you to link up with him on LinkedIn or Facebook Messenger. That is the best way for you to connect with Amir after this. We want to make sure that majority of this is the teaching. So I want to make sure that you all know the first hour of this will be the teaching part, and then the second Q&A. So make sure if you have a question, you go ahead and you write it out. But if there is an exercise for you all to follow or for you all to respond, only respond in the comments. We do not want anyone to unmute themselves unless the teacher, who is Amir, to ask if you unmute. So we're going to keep it like that. Amir, are you able to share your screen? Let me see.
And so, yeah, am I taking over right now at this point?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. How's everybody doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
I'm all good. Or well, if you will. So just like Kamara said, I'm a big advocate of, giving back to the youth and young journalists and stuff like that, because I got to where I am through, programs and stuff like that. I know I went to a journalism camp at VCU, which is my alma mater. And then I went through NABJ, and that's how I got to where I am today. So any way I can help, I'm always willing to help. So my presentation today will be on social media training. I'm more so of I like to be interactive with the people that I'm talking to. And I know, it can be a little boring if I'm just giving a presentation and, we're on Zoom and everything like that. So if you have questions throughout or anything like that, just feel free to ask. You can ask it in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. Put my phone on silent. And so, yeah, we'll get started with this presentation. As I told Kamara, I'm actually at work right now. I work nights during the week, so, this is my break, so they're letting me do this during my break and stuff like that. So, anything for young journalists. So here I am. And I will share my screen real quick.
Before we do that, I want to make sure that Amir feels some love. So 2 things, either put a hand clap emoji for your Zoom or unmute yourself in Zoom, because that will show him. And then it will be 45 minutes for the presentation, 15 minutes for the Q&A. All right, I'll be quiet.
Got you. All right, so here we go. I'm share my screen. Screen 2. Share. All right, everybody can see my screen? Whoop, wrong screen. What is this? 1 second. Buffalo. There we go. Now everybody can see my screen. Okay, so this will go. So this is the social media training presented by me. And so what's up with social media? It's the new form of entertainment. As everybody knows, you can go on social media and basically find anything you want. Whereas when I was in high school, I guess I'd be dating myself a little bit, but when I was in high school, it was just Facebook and YouTube, basically. Maybe MySpace if you were still in that space, but yeah, it was just Facebook and YouTube, and news organizations didn't really see the purpose or the point of social media at that point. Here we are like 10 to 15 years later, and now every news outlet has a Facebook page, has an Instagram, some have Pinterest, but they're on the big three: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Some are even venturing out into what's that thing called, Clubhouse and TikTok. So you just need to be very aware that social media isn't just something for personal entertainment or something to use in your personal life. I know, unfortunately, some people in news still think that social media is just purely entertainment. They're like, I'll pitch stories sometimes and they'll be like, oh, where'd you find the information? I'll be like, I saw it on Instagram. And they'll be like, oh, well, obviously I do need to verify that. But like when I tell them that I saw it on Instagram, sometimes there's a deflated look in the people that I pitch to. And that's unfortunate. But we all need to get in the mindset, if you take anything from this presentation today, is that you need to understand that news is everywhere. It's in your group chats, it's on your timeline, it's in your other DMs, it's everywhere. So anything you take from here today, just know that. And so what's up with gathering news on social media? These four topics that I'm about to go over are just the way I find news on social media. That doesn't just mean that these are the 4 areas that you can use. You can use all types of different avenues that you want to. So the first is the Twitter Moments. It used to be called Twitter Moments. Now it's just called the Twitter Explore page. And this is just a great place to find all types of different news. This is what I usually do. As you can see, there's a tab for you. There's a tab for trending. So I find a lot of good stories here on trending, usually in the top 10. That's how you can find the really good stories. News, they cater that to you or sometimes to what's trending and what's going on. Sports and entertainment are usually where I find the best stories when I'm pitching them. Just to give you another example, here's entertainment. Cool. Go back here. And then, it's also a great Twitter Moments, and the Explore page is also a great place to find out who died. For some reason, and you'll figure this out throughout the presentation, a lot of people go to social media first when someone dies or when something big happens. I know that here in Atlanta, most recently, the iconic Krispy Kreme store, I found out about that through Instagram. It happened at like 1 a.m, and everything was on it was a big, huge fire. The building's basically destroyed. So it was very interesting. And then just to give you an example of a story that I found on Twitter, this is one from last year after Kobe died. I had noticed that they in the Los Angeles Arena Plaza, they had set up the Staples Center. They had set up a different trash cans for people to shoot papers into. So anybody that knows Kobe, like when you ball a piece of paper and you see a trash can, you yell Kobe. And then, so they set up multiple trash cans throughout the plaza. And then I ended up writing that story. So that's just one example. Another example is this story I found out of my home state, Virginia. Pharrell actually tweeted this. He tweeted out, Pharrell and Norfolk State University actually tweeted out the video of Pharrell speaking during the virtual commencement, if you will. And so I was like, whoa, this is like a small university. Like, it's not nationally known, but the fact that megastar Pharrell was speaking at the commencement, that's a big deal. So I did that story. And then Crowdtangle. I know a lot of people aren't familiar with Crowdtangle, but it's a great place for keeping track of what's happening through the lens of either Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. I usually use it for Facebook. And then you can through Crowdtangle, you can organize what news you personally want to see. So when I'll click on here, and this is my Crowdtangle page. So like I said, I have it catered to Facebook. And so it's on all pages now, but like my favorites, these are lists that I have. So I have college newspapers, education, local papers, which is where you can find a lot of great news, sports, top newspapers, and local news for Virginia, because, you know, I'm from Virginia, so I want to know what's happening over there. And then Instagram. Instagram is a very underestimated medium. I think people are still trying to, I'm about to put some headphones in. I think people are still trying to figure out what's going on with Instagram, but I think Instagram is, people think that it's all fun challenges and funny videos and stuff like that, but it's so much more. Like, there's so many ways to tell stories on Instagram, and I'm not sure if many of you know, but the Washington Post now has an Instagram editor. Not a lot of places have an entire editor dedicated to one platform, but the Washington Post now has an entire team dedicated to Instagram. It's just a great storytelling medium. You can use it for reels, you can use it videos, you can even post on your stories. You can even use it for, you know, just general posts like delivering news. But it's a great place for primary content. If you and your friends are laughing at stuff on Instagram, how do you think other people will react to that? So like a great example of people just dropping breaking news on Instagram. I don't know if many of you know this, but I cover a lot of stories when it comes to verses, like those live Instagram battles. And so when Ashanti and Keisha Cole were originally supposed to battle, I think it was in like December, instead of Ashanti going on Twitter or on Facebook, the first thing she did was she went live on Instagram and said, "Hey, I have COVID. I'm not gonna be able to do it." And then, you know, that was just the news of the day. But another example of stories that I just found on Instagram are what I just spoke about, the versus battles. And this one actually went viral because of my headline. But yeah, I saw this was happening, and I saw that Babyface and Teddy Riley were both having technical difficulties. And so, you know, I wrote about it, and you got the memes and stuff and everything in there. But yeah, that was just an example of something I did on there. But overall, just talking with your friends on social media is a great way to find stories. Like, you know, group chats. Everyone has group chats, and they're full of news. A lot of the stories that I found, well, two examples that I'll get to in a second, but two examples that I found were through group chats, whether it was through, let me put these headphones in because you can hear the planes and stuff. 1 second, sorry, y'all. Whoop. Can y'all hear me? Yes, no, maybe so? All right, cool. And so, whether it's through text messages, your DMs, everybody has group chats that they're in. And people share news in there all the time, whether it's entertainment news or whether it's, you know, real news and stuff like that. But an example of a story that I found via social media in my group chats was this one. So this meteorologist in New York about 2 years ago, he said Martin Luther King Park instead of saying Martin Luther King Park. And I just remember getting a whole bunch of messages about this story and the clip and stuff like that. So I went on Facebook. The meteorologist had gone live on Facebook telling his side of the story. The news director, the actual news director, went on air, said, you know, we don't tolerate this, bing, bang, boom. So you have the meteorologist, you have the news station giving a comment, and then, you know, the story basically wrote itself. And this ended up being like one of the top stories for like 2 or 3 days. It was crazy. And then another story that I got out of group chats was this one. I don't know if y'all remember last January, it was pretty crazy. I know it feels like it was 20 years ago, but last January, you know, Iran and the US were having issues basically. And a lot of people were scared that they were going to get drafted, that they were going to reinstate the draft. And I remember a lot of my friends sending me links and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what, let me just go to the source and say, and tell them. And so I tried to go to the Selective Service website, but it was slow. I tried to go on my phone, then I tried to go on my computer. It wasn't loading. Come to find out that it actually crashed, pitched it to my editors, and here we are. And so, yeah, I did that. And it turns out the Selective Service themselves made a statement. And yeah, so these are just examples of how important social media is, because everybody goes on social media to make statements, to, you know, clear their name and everything like that. So that's just how to find news on social media. So what about social media analytics? So analytics help us. Oh, before I get to analytics, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about finding stories on social media, period?
Let me ask you this: for a lot of students or job seekers who are doing freelance or independent work, is Crowdtangle available for everyone?
I would have to. I'm not too sure on that one. I know I got Crowdtangle through my job, of course, but I'm not. I think if you have a Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, you're able to get Crowdtangle. I'm not too sure on that, but I know that's how I was able to sign up. So yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Go to the chat real quick. Oh, I can't view the chat. Why is it
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
How long have you been working at CNN?
It was 3 years as of, and you're about to see that tweet, but it was 3 years as of February 5th.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember
Yeah.
you posting on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually about to talk about that.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a quick question.
What's up?
So like, you know, when a breaking news happened, how quick and how under pressure do you have to get that as fast as you can? Because other news media sources are like also doing that, like posting breaking news as quick as they can as well. So what's like the pressure of, you know, releasing articles that just happen to break right there and then?
Well, when it comes to actual breaking news, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the folks at my job, without getting into the internal inside baseball of CNN, but a lot of times news organizations will tell you all you need is like a couple of lines to put out, and then you can flesh it out after that. So, you know, if like, let's say I'll keep using the Krispy Kreme as an example because that just happened earlier this morning. But like the Krispy Kreme is basically on fire and the building's destroyed. Like all people want to know right away is what's happening. Then, so, you know, you tweet out or you put out a couple lines talking about Krispy Kreme's on fire, blah, blah, blah. It's 2-alarm fire, all this stuff. And then you start to flesh it out after that as you get more information. So when it comes to like social media and stuff like that, we news organizations try to be as fast as possible, but they want to be correct before they're first. So they would rather have all the correct information rather than tweeting something out just for the sake of being first, because that's how you end up having to write corrections and stuff like that, and you don't ever want to write corrections. So yeah.
I have a question.
What's going on?
Now, one thing that I have noticed, well, actually not with news organizations, but you know, and I've heard about this mostly, but like, as far as, let's say, more of your entertainment news, is it, basically it's more of a comment. I believe that, maybe not with like breaking news, but let's say entertainment news, if a person is going to be serious about, you know, reporting entertainment news, I believe that, you know, they should be aware of where they get it from, because as far as breaking news stories, like actual news stories from news organizations, I don't think it's much of a problem as more of reporting a story just for clicks. But as far as entertainment news, you know, you have people that will just basically post a story that's basically turns out to be a rumor, or basically like clickbait and stuff, you know. So I believe so. It would just be like if anybody on here wants to report on entertainment news, I believe that it would be, you know, wise to find a reliable source and not just a, you know, more of a blogger, because, you know, there are bloggers out there that will just like report on the story just for clicks and views, and, you know, or to defame somebody, you know. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, or they'll kill people off. That lady from that 70s show was killed off before she actually died. I forget her name, but that happens all the time. People kill people on Twitter all the time. They'll say so-and-so died, blah, 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 and then it'll turn out so-and-so didn't die. But even with the primary sources, like the lady from that 70s show that I'm talking about, and I forget her name, but news organizations got that information from her friend because her friend thought she was dead. And turns out she wasn't dead. She died 2 days later, but still, she wasn't dead at the time. And so, yeah, usually you want to get information from, like, when it comes to entertainment, from like a publicist or an agent or a manager, or if they're, you know, depending on what they do in the entertainment space, like the record company, something like that, some primary source. So that way, you know, you attribute it to them and stuff like that. So yeah, no, that's a good point.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So back to social media analytics. So analytics help us find out who is looking at what and for how long they're looking at it. Social media analytics can help us find out how to better write social copy, which I'll get to. A couple examples of how social media analytics can really help. The first example I have is who shares your story has a big impact on, your story or your post has a big impact on the analytics. So like this tweet that I'm about to show you about Jacob Blake, D-Ray McKesson shared that, the activist D-Ray McKesson. And so out of nowhere, this tweet just started blowing up on me. And everybody has access to this, mind you. I think they do. I know I'm verified, so I'm not sure if you know, people that aren't verified have this information, but if you are verified, you have a little analytics button right here, and you can see the impressions. So my tweet was seen 58,000 times, and it had total engagements, meaning people either retweeted it, liked it, or they clicked on the link in the tweet, people over 1,000 times. And so, you know, those are just the impressions and the engagements, as well as the amount of time someone interacts with your post, are usually like the basics of engagements. It can go deeper, but for purposes of this presentation, we'll just stick with impressions and engagements because Facebook does the same thing. Okay. And then personal life events also help to increase analytics. So, you know, I was just talking about this. I tweeted out my anniversary the other day, and then, well, let me put it right. So yeah, I tweeted out my anniversary the other day. It's like my 3 years at CNN, and it had 40,000 impressions, and then, you know, it was interacted with over 4,000 times. So, you know, you don't want to get too personal though. You know, that's a whole nother presentation in and of itself, but you don't want to get too personal. I just thought this was a great anniversary because I forgot to post for my 1st and 2nd year anniversary. So 3 years is a big mark. And then on Facebook, you can see how many, just like Twitter, you can see how many people engaged with the post, or how many people clicked on a post, or how many people shared it. So this is an example of Facebook. Let's do this real quick, because I'm logged in as myself. Let me do this. Okay, so this is the Facebook page, and you can see insights right here if you have a Facebook page. And I know Facebook does this if you're verified or you're not verified. So post reach means how many people saw the post. It was seen 154 times, and then post engagement, as we've said, is how many times people click on it, how many times you know, people like it, you know, just the overall engagement with the post. So that's that one. You can see it on this one as well. So yeah. And, you know, I just posted these, so that's why the numbers are so low. But if you go like to something like this, oh, that's 87. But here we go. Here's one. So yeah, you know, you'll see stuff like that. And then, so your social copy matters as well. How you, and when I say social copy, that means how specifically what you write on the post that you're posting. So you want to write in a way that engages readers. And so this was a story that I'd written, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And, you know, I pitched this story. So, you know, I wrote I noticed a lot of people were using the word patriot lately. I know for many, being considered a patriot is as American as it gets. It's a word that's supposed to bring unification and joy, but throughout history, it's also divided and excluded people. I decided to look into the history of the context of what it means to be a patriot. Now, I could have easily just copy and pasted the headline and put it right here. But, you know, what does that mean? Like when you're scrolling on your timeline and stuff like that, and you just see, you know, the matching headline with the post, then it's just like, I know what the story is about. But, you know, I put some context to it without telling what the story is about. So someone would read that and they're like, oh, what's this about? And they'll click on it. And now we can see how many insights it's got. So the bottom line here is that your social copy matters. And so for the examples that I gave, like right here, just to go back to their social copy, I like to have like two very short paragraphs when I write my stories. So like on this one, you know, I said 2 of the 3 officers involved in the Jacob Blake shooting returned to duty. I could have just left it there, put the link, bada bing, bada boom. But then, you know, you add some more context. So like when you're writing social copy, it's kind of like you need to have an understanding of what the story you wrote is about. So that way you can succinctly post it, because on Twitter, you obviously only have, I think it's like 280 characters. And then on Facebook, nobody ever reads like long Facebook posts. As much as, you know, people love writing them, nobody reads like long Facebook posts. So you want to be able to get straight to the point, so that way people can interact with it better. And so before I get on to writing posts getting more deeper into writing posts for social media, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns at this point?
I got a question.
What's up?
Yeah, just how you, as with your job, because both with Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, they're all 3 different beasts. Like they all are different in the way in getting people to engage. So how do you guys judge that when you post these things on 3 different social media sites? Do you worry that, okay, we're getting more clicks over here in Twitter, but on Facebook, no one's really looking at this. Like no one's really engaging in the topic that we're bringing up. How do you handle that?
Yeah, you just have to, and that's on the next slide too, but you have to just know your different audiences. So Twitter, you want to get straight to the point. If you're posting on Instagram, it is very important that your story, whatever story you're posting, has a video or picture element. So you don't just want to put like, for example, me, you don't just want to put like the CNN logo, hey, read my story. Nobody's going to read that. You want to have a picture or a video with that. And then on Facebook, if you have a picture or video, that helps a lot. But you still want to write your social copy in a way that would engage folks. And, you know, going back to Twitter, picture and video helps a lot. I try to have a picture with every single tweet that I have, because, you know, when you post a link, it auto-populates a picture, but sometimes, I don't know, I've just found that posting a picture, like posting a picture on your tweet as opposed to letting the link auto-populate it, it garners more engagement for some reason. I never understood why. I started doing it like 5 years ago now. And that's just the conclusion that I came to. Did that answer your question?
Oh.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Hey, Amir, I just want to make a comment about that, about what the pictures and the context. Context is everything, of course, obviously. When I was a marketing assistant, I noticed that the engagements and reach went up when there was a picture with good context information about what was going on. So that's something that I noticed too, with what you just said, that the likes and engagements do go up when there's a picture to go along with the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a question and I posted it in the chat. So it was specifically about reach. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because I've always wondered about that specifically with Facebook.
What about it?
Like, what is interpreted with reach? Like you explained interactions, like that's clicks or whatever, but what does the reach mean? Because that's always, I've noticed like a way bigger number than, of course, sometimes the clicks.
The reach is literally just how many people saw your story. So like whether they're scrolling on the timeline, whether someone shares it with them, it's just how many people saw that specific post. But not
necessarily opened it or engaged with it.
Yeah, so the engagements is how many people clicked on it, how many people liked the post, and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I have a question.
What's up?
So, the post you just showed about the Patriot story, it was kind of like a teaser. So it's got, let me just say it's a two-part question. So, one, is it good to like have a tease with the post? And my second question is it good to like teach your readers to like. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So my question is it good to tease your readers with the Facebook post, and is it good to like have like a small tease along with like to introduce the story?
I think it's good to have a tease because that honestly will make people click on the story. I think one of my examples I'm about to give will show that. I like how these questions just naturally flow with the presentation. But yeah, so like, you know, if like Kamara posting, if she were to post a story about this today, if she were writing a story, you know, CNN writer Amir Vera, you know, presented to the Digital Career Opportunities Worldwide group. Read more about his presentation here. Stuff like that. You wanna put there instead of her writing. Amir spoke to the Digital Careers Opportunities Worldwide channel about blah 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 blah. Because at that point, you already done told the story. So why would somebody click on it? Why would somebody have to engage with it? So.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
I got a quick question.
What's going on?
So like when you first put out stories on social media, do you use hashtags too? Because I heard that kind of creates extra trafficking to your page. Like especially with Twitter, they're known for using hashtags. Any tweet could blow up at any moment. Do you use like, you know, like hashtag like, you know, so and so, or do you just stick with it and with like the Twitter algorithm hopes to get like a lot of views based off, you know, what's trending and what's not?
I usually only use hashtags when I know something is trending. So like I wrote a lot of Super Bowl stories over the weekend, and you know what, I can show y'all. I wrote a lot of Super Bowl stories over the weekend, and each time I wrote about the Super Bowl, I used, for example, I used the Super Bowl hashtag because everybody was talking about the Super Bowl. Everybody remembers this. And so, yeah, right here too. Anytime I was talking about the Super Bowl, I used the Super Bowl hashtag. Just like anytime I'm writing a versus story, I usually tweet I'm not usually live tweeting during the verses because I'm taking notes and doing stuff. But when I blast out the story, it's usually like right after it happens. I usually, you know, hashtag versus. So it's just all about if you know what's happening. Now, as far as if you're asking about like creating news and creating a hashtag and stuff like that, I personally don't think that's the responsibility of a news organization. But I think I've seen a couple news organizations make hashtags for themselves. But as for me, as a personal reporter, I don't usually create hashtags. I usually just include hashtags with what I'm doing. And then speaking of hashtags, I could go on a whole tangent about this, but I'll just say this and then we can move on unless anybody else has questions. There's no need to hashtag random words in your tweets. I've seen that a bunch of times. Like people tweet something like, I've seen that a bunch of times, and they'll hashtag bunch. And you're like, why? And so, or I've seen like people do hashtag breaking. No one in the history of the universe is you know, typing in hashtag breaking and seeing what's going on all over the internet. Like there's no need to put a hashtag in front of breaking or a hashtag in front of update. You know, if you're using a hashtag, make sure that it's something that's actually trending.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so writing posts for social. First and foremost, there's nothing wrong with copy and pasting headlines. Just make sure that it's a good headline and that, you know, it'll garner that engagement. I know the Washington Post is known for before I started this presentation, I combed social media with the big outlets to see how they normally did stuff. And the Washington Post is normally known for using headlines, using the exact same headline that's in the link and putting it right here. But, you know, as long as the headline like draws your attention, like, you know, this one is TikTok biased against non-white curvy bodies, this lingerie brand says so. I'll click on it because I want to know which lingerie brand is saying that TikTok is biased. And then, one second, this is acting silly. There we go. And then you got this one right here too. So after the Capitol riot, Dutch families turn to groups to deprogram extremists. That just sounds interesting to me. So that's something that I would click on. But for the most part, you mostly want to engage your readers. So write in a way, like I mentioned earlier, that makes them want to click on the post, that makes them want to keep that will keep them on that post and potentially make them click on the link in that post. So CNN does a great job of this. Not that I'm being biased, but shameless plug. So CNN has this ongoing story about 28 Black seminal figures for Black History Month that are not well known. And so they're doing a profile each day of February about lesser known Black figures in Black history. And so, you know, the way that they wrote that was, it's Black History Month. We are focusing on 28 seminal figures, one for each day of February, who don't make the history books. You may not know their name, but these courageous Black Americans made a huge impact. And so they've been doing the thread the entire month. And, you know, the way that was written, it makes me want to keep up with the thread. And the New York Times also had one. I think this one speaks to the example that I spoke earlier. Yes. So this makes me want to click on it. Like, this doesn't give me the full story right then and there. It says Amanda Gorman, the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history, will read a piece before the Super Bowl tonight. Learn more about her and the poem she read before President Biden's inauguration. So, like, that was an example of what I gave earlier about them teasing. So, you know, that makes me want to click on it. Like, you know, what more, like it doesn't tell you exactly what's in the story. It kind of teases it. And then you have to know your different audiences. I found an example on my personal social media of times that I should have, you know, tweaked it a little bit. So I'll give the example and then I'll tell you what I do nowadays. So this was my tweet about this incident. This was when the shooting in New Zealand at the two churches. So I basically said, dodging bullets, Abdul, can't pronounce that name, confronted the New Zealand shooter and saved lives. The father of four said, I gotta be honest with you, it wasn't me, it was God that saved everybody. God saved everyone. And then I posted a picture of the man. So, you know, I post that. That's not a teaser in any sense of the word, but it kind of sums up the story right there, if that makes any sense. Whereas on Facebook, this is what I posted. And I used to do this all the time. I used to just post the quote. And so the thing with any social media, you can't just post a quote out there and expect people to read this comment, to read this, and then to understand what the heck he's talking about here. So what I should have did was just copy, and I do this now, I just copy and paste this and put it right here. But, you know, you live and you learn. And so, yeah, the big thing that I have from this example is that you can't just post quotes without context. And I see people do that all the time, and I'm like, what are they talking about? And it doesn't make me want to click on the article. It just makes me sit there and scratch my head, like, what's happening? And so, yeah. And so the bottom line, is don't underestimate where you can find news. TikTok, Clubhouse, Pinterest are all viable sources for possible stories, as are Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't dismiss something as less serious just because you see it in your personal life versus your professional life. So, you know, a lot of stuff people see in entertainment news, like the stuff you see on Baller Alert or Shade Room or Gossip, stuff like that, that could potentially become real news. Not real, I don't want to say real news because it is news, but that could become like big news. So like, you know, don't just dismiss stuff just because you see it on like the shade room, and then you see it on CNN and you take it more seriously. Like, news is news wherever it is. And then, you know, on top of that, social media is very dangerous. So you always want to verify your information. You don't just want to, you know, the man who was speaking about entertainment news earlier, you don't just want to post stuff without verification, because you will get fried on any form of social media for that. And that is my presentation. So now we can go with the Q&A portion.
Sounds good. Okay, everybody, please let's give a round of applause. Let's make sure that we are thanking Amir. All right, now we're going to open it up for questions, and this is still going to be recorded. And then I'll pause it around like 7:50. He has 15 minutes, so please unmute yourselves and open yourselves up for questions.
Amir, how do you determine what to write for like Twitter and Facebook? On like, if you write like a news story on social media, how do you determine this differentiating from Twitter and Facebook and Instagram?
Well, to clear it up, I don't usually write stories, because I don't work on the social media team. I don't write stories on social media. I might write a story and then post that story on social media, if that makes sense. So okay. I will, because I wrote it, I'll make sure, and I know the social media teams and programming teams at different outlets do this, but they want to make sure that they have an understanding of what the story is, so that way they can write that social post, that engaging social post. And then, you know, for people that are just starting out, I would say if you're unsure of what to write, especially if it's your own story, just copy and paste the lead. That's what I used to do. Just copy and paste the lead until you get an understanding of, you know, how to write for social and stuff like that.
Good question. Who's next?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay. So when it comes to posting pictures, for example, for Instagram, does it matter what type of picture you post? Like, if it's a plain picture talking about a company, like if it's plain, or if it's something that looks really good, would you recommend someone still post that type of picture even with a good headline? Because I know, for example, like my friends, they wouldn't like even engage in the post if the picture didn't look too good or if it wasn't as flashy. So what would you recommend?
I don't know what you mean by plain picture, but just the word plain, you don't want to post that on Instagram. If you're, I don't use Instagram for my news stories unless it's like a big news story. I'll put it on my Instagram story. But I know that if you're a reporter and you actively use Instagram for your job, you don't want to put plain stuff on there. So you want to put pictures that will catch people's eye, because that's all. Instagram is a visual medium, so you want to post pictures on there that would catch people's eye, and you want to make sure that the pictures are sized appropriately, because you don't want pictures where it's like this, or like half someone's face, or like, you know what I'm saying, or like, you know, their forehead like this and stuff like that. So yeah, you want to make sure to do that when you're on Instagram.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
What's going on?
Hey, so you said verify your information on social media, always verify. Like, while you're seeing it, while you're on the job, like, and you look at social media headlines, how you verify social media sources? Like, how you verify like a story that just happened? Have we use the social media stuff? How you verify your information or fact check your information?
You can go straight to the source. So I just opened the chat and people are talking about the Gorilla Glue story. When that happened, and then Gorilla Glue put out a comment. So, you know, anybody, like, when you see that as a reporter, you might be a little skeptical, because you might be like, is she telling the truth? Like, you know, is this real? And then Gorilla Glue puts out a statement.
It's
and
real.
then it's like, yeah, you're like, whoa, she really
it's
Gorilla
real.
Glue in her hair. Yeah, I know that now. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, but to verify, like, you know, you always have to be skeptical of stories on social media. It was real. I know that now. But you want to be skeptical when you look at news on social media, especially if it's not from a verified source. And when I say verified, that means something with a blue check, or even from the primary source itself. So, like, I'll keep using the example of people dying. many people could say somebody died, but until like either a record label or an agent or a manager, or even some people don't even run their own Instagram. I mean, their own Twitters or social media and stuff like that. So, or they post it on their verified accounts and stuff like that. I'd be real skeptical of everything.
I have a question.
What's going on?
So is there like a source where I can like verify the information? Because I have a website and I'm a blogger, but I do post, I verify the story before I post it. So I always make sure that I verify going into the news media. That's something that you have to do as a journalist, is verify. So is there like a source that I could use in order to like make sure that the story is like, like verified, like, is there like a type of website I can go to double check?
Right now, Trump's Senate impeachment.
No, I think somebody needs to be on mute real quick.
56 to 44.
Cool. So I think, not I think, but there's not like a, there's not like a source database, if you will, but it's just all about, like knowing where to find information. So, if it's a politics story, you want to go to the government agency. Example is the Selective Service. People saying the Selective Service website crashed. I can go to the Selective Service Twitter and see what they said about that. The example that I kept giving about people dying, you want to go to the people's record labels, you want to go to their agents, you want to go to their personal social
Twitter
media
accounts and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's just going to the primary source. There's no like source database to say this is true, this is not true type stuff.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I got
Good question. Who's next?
I got a question, if I can.
Yeah, what's going on?
I also know that with social media too, it's important, like you brought up with analytics, but also too analytics with keywords. So, and when you look at both, you don't, like, I know some of them you don't follow it, the reach and the engagement is more lower. So how do you balance that with those social media platforms? Like, do you just make sure that each one has specific words that need to be there to catch the eye and get the people engaged into the article?
Yeah. So the Jacob Blake, I'll just use the Jacob Blake stuff as an example. So the officers who shot Jacob Blake, I wanted to make sure in my tweet to put obviously Jacob Blake's name and then the names of the two officers. So that way, anytime somebody goes on Twitter and tries to search the name of the two officers, either of the names, my tweet's gonna pop up. Or like if anybody wants to search Jacob Blake, that's in my tweet. So my tweet is gonna pop up. So this goes back to, I think you were the same person that asked about hashtags. You don't necessarily have to use hashtags, but it's like the next level to that is having the keywords. So that way it pops up when people search. So like, it's not just about knowing your audience, it's about knowing the keywords that people are gonna search for. You know what I mean? So like the man that streaked during the Super Bowl, I don't have his name, but I made sure to put Super Bowl in there, and it was the announcer had he did a play-by-play of it basically. So I made sure to put the announcer's name in there. I think his name was Kevin Harlan or something like that. And so, yeah, it's just knowing the keywords and knowing your audience.
And last, how do you handle when that, because it's social media, when you're giving information, you're giving news out, and people are going to engage in it. So how do you handle the negative side of it when people try to say that you're lying, or they see that you're being biased of what you're trying to say?
I have my own personal code when it comes to that, and I've been following this code since I graduated college. I don't respond to negative stuff. That's just me. No matter how many people are doing it, no matter what's said or anything like that, I don't engage with it. Unless it's like, sometimes, I'll be like, oh, I got time today. And then, I'll quote tweet something. But for the most part, I don't respond to negative stuff. I'll respond to positive stuff all the time. I'll copy and paste a thank you a million times before I respond to somebody's negative comments and stuff like that.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
I got another question. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I have a question. Okay. if I want to, because let's say, okay, this point forward, I would like to, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Hello, yeah, okay. Basically, how can a person, do you have any resource? Do you have any resources on how a person can write a amazing, let's say, tweet or Facebook post to where it can get where it can be seen by a bunch of people other than their followers and stuff? You
Good
know,
question.
yes, resources.
I can share my presentation with Kamara, so that way she can blast that out to you guys. As far as you know, like tips, and not tips, but as far as a how-to on how to write social copy and stuff like that, I'd have to look for that myself. I know that I just learned through posting a lot and working. I used to work really closely with a digital producer at my second job, and I work closely with the social media team and the programming team at my current job. So that's how I was able to learn and stuff like that. But I could share, like I said, I could share my presentation with Kamara, and she could share it with everybody. So that way everybody, you know, has examples and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, thank you. And if anybody in this webinar knows any resources, anything, or any link, or any websites, can you please post them in the chat?
Sure will. Thank you very much, Aaron. Okay, we have, he has to get off here, so we have time for one more question, then we're going to close out. Oh, I see World, W-E. Hey, Mr. Friend. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, what's up? No, just kind of going back to the question Ron asked you, like how you ignore negative comments. So have you, obviously, because you know you have your own career and there's a whole bunch of people on the internet who hate. How do you have, like, you know, the patience to ignore comments, especially when people are coming at your credibility? Because, you know, there's a lot of people, they have different opinions on different networks, you know, for whatever affiliation that they pledge to. But, you know, people on the other side always claim CNN is quote unquote fake news. And I'm pretty sure, have you had people come at your credibility? How do you have the, I don't know what word it is, the resistance to kind of clap back at them when they come at your credibility? Or do you just let it slide?
It's not more so of a letting it slide. I would say most of the people that come at me on social media, I haven't really had any like verified people come at me personally. Most of the people that come after me have like 8 followers or like 3 followers and stuff like that. Or what I've seen a lot of is people will create a Twitter just to say what they have to say. And so they'll have like 0 followers and they're following like 3 people. But it just like, and this is how I think in my personal life, like, I don't take stuff seriously to people that can't have an impact on my life, if that makes any sense. So like, you know, what is John Doe in like Wyoming or California? What impact is he gonna have on my life by calling me fake news? Like, I don't care, just to be real with you. So, you know, I know what I'm doing. And I know the information that I got is good. So, you know, that's why I just don't engage with people like that. Now, I've never had a situation where someone with a huge, I haven't had a situation where someone with a huge following has called me fake news, but I have had a situation where someone with a huge following has said something out of context and then I had to correct them. That happened with the whole versus situation. Somebody retweeted me or quote tweeted me and said, you know, he's sharing our business again, y'all. And the person who tweeted that was a celebrity of sorts. And I had written about that celebrity, but they didn't know that. They were just following the crowd. So like I quote tweeted the celebrity and I was like, okay. And I just posted the link to the story I wrote about them. And then they issued an apology to me via email. But yeah, those are the only times that I've done that.
I have a comment to make. I follow a number of journalists who basically getting told, basically often, and
basically what
they
often?
have to, yeah. Well, they are being trolled on their Twitter often and stuff. Like they would post a tweet and like they would, like you get like the, just the ignorant comments, and that's been going on ever since this virus, and with the Black Lives Matter situations and stuff. And one thing I noticed is that they have to basically respond in a way to where they cannot, basically curse that person out. And that's because, at the end of the day, they have to keep their jobs and stuff, but have you ever experienced, or have you ever seen a time to where, a journalist just had it and just gone off, and what happened? And if that happened, did it affect their job?
Thank you. That's the last question that I'm going to ask one, then we're going to let Amir dismiss. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Have I seen an example of a journalist going off on somebody? Not in a negative.
Better word.
You said what?
Defending themselves. This is a better word.
I know I've seen a bunch of journalists defend themselves, but I haven't seen it in a way that that affected their job. I know a lot of my friends who are journalists, they oftentimes defend themselves in the comment, but I haven't seen it in such a way that it affects their job, if that makes any sense. And so 2 things to say. Thank you guys for having me tonight. I posted a link because somebody asked for a link on how to write social copy. So I just Googled how to write social copy and I just posted a link in there. The second thing was, one thing I forgot to bring up is about social media is when you post. I asked my friend who was a social media editor about that. And I had always been taught like 9 to 12, 3 to 6, 6 to 9 are like the peak times to post. But you also, the 2 things you need to know is that you want to post when people are either getting to or heading to work, or when people are getting off or heading home from work. So it's kind of like, being on the radio. That's when most of the primetime radio hits are. So, yeah.
Sounds good. And let me ask you this last question. Again, everyone who is still on, please make sure that you drop in the comments. Thank you, Amir. Amir, it was a pleasure. I mean, this is only a snippet of what's in your brain. We're not even scratching the surface at about 5%. So we just want to say thank you. And also thank you for your time. Ty asked a good question. How do you get verified on Twitter?
I got verified through my job. Yeah, so your job would have to do that. Most of the people I know that are verified, they got verified through their place of work.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
No problem.
If there is nothing else, Amir, we will see you later. And thank you again. You did a phenomenal job, and make sure you post on social media and follow him. That's a great thing. Go ahead and follow him. All right, Amir, we'll see you later.
All right, guys. Have a great one.
Amir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed this class. Come off mute. All right. Pressure's off. How did y'all like it? Did y'all enjoy it?
I loved it. I wish it was longer. I know we
I
only have an
know.
hour, but there's so much that goes with social media, and we're all trying to keep up.
And here's the thing, everything is changing. Instagram, the way the algorithm works, now they're saying, hey, we want y'all to use IG Reels because too many people are on TikTok. Let me go ahead and stop this.